Hello and welcome to Ferris Sports Update. I'm your host, Rob Bentley, and thanks for tuning in. On today's show, we'll talk Bulldog Hockey. We'll also check in with the Ferris State men's basketball team and recap the GLIAC tournament. And we'll talk Bulldog volleyball, off to a great start here this spring. We'll start first, though, with Bulldog Hockey and joined by head coach Bob Daniels. Coach, welcome to the show.
Good to be here, Rob.
Obviously, I know good to be here at this time of the year where you're playing in the postseason, and obviously a quick regular season that just wrapped up this past weekend.
Yeah, it did. It was quick. Realistically, we had a handful of games in December in the first half of the year, but everything's been the second half, and it seemed like more of a normal year, if you will, in the second half of the year, where I don't think we had one game canceled due to COVID. Now, we had a few interruptions in our practice schedule early on, but as of late, we've rolled right along. So while it has been a compressed, quick season, we're certainly further ahead than I ever thought we'd be, in terms of the number of games we've gotten in. So happy about that, Rob.
I know, obviously, got to be pleased with the way your team's playing headed into the postseason, coming off a strong performance against Lake Superior State on the road.
Yeah, I mean, it was a 2-1 game, and that's probably the only thing that wasn't reflected in the scoring, is the sheer number of scoring chances both teams had. When you see 2-1, but that game could have easily been a 5-4 game. But I thought the guys played well. We're working on some different things. Actually, we put some things into this game that we're going to hope to carry over and use. We already were looking ahead to the playoffs in Minnesota State.
Obviously, as we go to the highlights of the game, Lake Superior having a strong season and a team that was ranked in the top 20 in the country. Yeah,
a really good team. Their goaltender is outstanding, Mark Mittens, and they've got some good depth throughout their forward lines, and I think a real good quality decor. But you can see we generated some chances, and you'll see they'll have some chances as well. I thought Logan Stein had a really strong game. I thought Mark Mittens, their goaltender, had a really strong game, and but all in all, I was happy with our performance. I was happy with our effort level. Lake State was playing for the opportunity to finish second in the conference. We were locked into 8th, so we didn't have quite as much to play for, but nevertheless, we played hard, and I was very appreciative of the effort.
You mentioned Logan Stein had 40 saves for you here, and a player, just a freshman, that continues to progress for you.
Yeah, he's getting better and better. Here's a goal by freshman Antonio Venuto on a nice setup by Dallas Tulig. But that actually has been a line that's been going pretty well for us. But we're getting quite a bit of contributions from our freshmen, though, including Logan Stein, the goaltender you just referenced, Antonio Venuto, Stepan Pokorny. I almost just called him Pokey there by his nickname, but we're getting a lot of good play from those guys.
That goal made it a 1-1 game, and really a 1-1 game much of the way here up in Sault Ste. Marie.
Yeah. I think we're trailing by to start the third. We're trailing 2-1. Had some good looks when it was 2-1. Yeah, here's the goal that makes it 2-1 for them. We had some good looks. We just couldn't get the equalizer. Pulled the goalie late in the third period. And we had one really good chance where we couldn't quite get the handle on the puck here. Mitch Dealster just rang that one off the crossbar. Another freshman that's had an outstanding year for us.
How much confidence does a performance maybe like this on the road going into a tough playoff series mean for you guys?
Well, I think we've got some confidence. A few weeks ago when we played Minnesota State, we went into the 3-on-3 overtime 4-4 with them. Played them pretty good a couple of times this year. So I think, certainly we have a ton of respect for Minnesota State. We know they're a good team, but I think we also have some confidence we can play with them.
Obviously, here you continued to battle and had some opportunities going down the stretch, maybe to get the equalizer.
Yeah, we only got one power play in the night. This is in the third period, and we had, as you can see, a couple of really good looks at the net. That one was shot over. But, we just couldn't find a way to get the tying goal in.
Obviously a little unusual playing a Saturday afternoon game, not having a game the night before, really allowed both teams to focus in on that game.
I really kind of liked it. I liked the way our schedule worked at the very end of the season. We had, last weekend was a COVID makeup week. We really didn't have a COVID makeup games that we needed to play, but Lake Superior had a bunch stacked up, so we agreed to play one a week ago Saturday and then one this past Saturday with Lake State. In between, they had 2 games with Bemidji, so they had a little bit harder road to hoe than we did. But it worked out really well because we had meaningful practices this past week instead of having a bye weekend because of no COVID games. So it really did work out very well for us, Robert.
Obviously, first round of the WCHA playoffs this week on the road, as you mentioned, at Minnesota State, and certainly a tough opponent, but an opponent you've seen already 4 times here this season.
Yeah, we've had our share of games with them. And we've had a number of meaningful games over the years with them. So this will just kind of keep it going. We look forward to the challenge. We really do, and we're excited. We're going to try to change up a few things and come at them, from a few different angles. And I'm excited about that, Rob. And I think the guys are too. And whenever it gets to this time of the year, everyone's excited. Today we were talking before we got in the air about how nice the weather is, and it always reminds me of playoff time when the seasons start to change.
Obviously, speaking of playoff time, you've been through this a number of times before. What does it take to win here in the month of March in playoff hockey?
Well, goaltending is always number one when it comes to the playoffs. You've got to get good goaltending, and for us, that's even amplified by the fact that Minnesota State's such a good offensive team, and they've got a great goaltender in McKay. So goaltending, then special teams. You've got to be disciplined. You can't be in the box giving them, and particularly Minnesota State hitting at over 30% on the power play. So, we got to stay out of the box. Got to be disciplined. And you got to be sound defensively. Those are the hallmarks of a good playoff hockey team and a team that can make a run in the playoffs.
Obviously, coming into the WCHA playoffs, final opportunities here in the WCHA before you move to the CCHA next season. What would it mean to go out and really have a strong performance here in the playoffs?
We'd like to do that, Rob. It's bittersweet. Obviously bitter seeing the disillusionment of or the dissolving of the WCHA, a historic league, a historic conference that we've enjoyed being involved in. But we're also, the sweet part is we're going back to the CCHA where we were, and obviously another historic conference with a strong name and some really strong member schools. So, it'll be sad. It will that this is the last year of the WCHA, but at the same token, we're really excited about the opportunity of being back in the CCHA next year.
Obviously, a long road trip out to Mankato, Minnesota, but I'm sure nice to be going back here where the games really mean something in March when the weather's a little bit nicer than maybe it was back in January.
Yeah, in January, minus 10, minus 20, it's pretty cold. I looked today, I think it's going to be 67 in Mankato today, and so, yeah, you're looking at about an 80-degree swing. So as long as it'll make travel easier too. Back in January we went there, you're fighting snow and the cold, and I think we'll have a little rain, but not too bad. We can handle the rain.
Well, Coach, best of luck as you start postseason play, and thanks for being on the show today.
Thank you, Rob.
We'll be back with more Ferris Sports Update right after this.